Hi, my name is Geet Khosla. I'm a serial tech entrepreneur. I've been building startups since 2007. And for the last couple of years, I started a podcast series talking to my friends in the industry, entrepreneurs, VCs, scientists. And one of those scientists was Professor Serge Bellonji, who is the director of this amazing building that hosts the Pioneer Center for AI, which is one of the most special and ambitious projects anywhere in the world. The Danish government decided that we have to have more ambitious research coming out of Denmark, more people doing exciting things here in a world stage. And they decided to put out a call for the best scientists in the country to come up with a concept. And they came up with this concept of the Pioneer Center for AI. Professor Serge Bellonji is the director, and he and the crew here are doing some of the most important work in the world around a variety of fields. The Pioneer Center hosts 7 collaboratories that span across a variety of AI fields. We'll get into all that. But the first episode, we want to open up with, how did this come about? Who are the guys who founded this, the grant writers who wrote this proposal that has been given 13 years of time span to do great work, and then we'll go from there. Thank you for making the time.
Of course.
Could you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Peter Sestoft, head of the computer science department at the IT University in Copenhagen, so which is distinct from the University of Copenhagen. Yeah. I'm a computer scientist, grew up in Copenhagen, was educated here at the large University of Copenhagen, and then I've been at different universities in Copenhagen and a bit abroad, and for the last 6.5 years, department head at the IT University.
What is the Pioneer Center for AI? How would you describe it in your own words?
I would say that the vision is to create a place where all Danish research in this field can come together, where Danish researchers in this field can come together, and where a large infusion of funding makes it possible to have more PhDs, more postdocs, more meetings, and so on.
Yeah.
And a physical meeting place in this observatory building.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it is also relatively unique, and potentially other countries are doing it in other places, but the sort of interconnectedness with all the universities, not just in the sort of collaboratories, but also in the management structure. We'll talk to some of the other people later.
Yeah.
I can also imagine that has its set of challenges, but it's also pretty unique, right? Was that thought out from the beginning we wanted to be representative of everybody?
Yeah, so the proposal was made from the IT University, from University of Copenhagen, and from the Technical University, and now later in the proposal process, Aalborg and Aarhus University also joined. There are 3 more universities in Denmark, and they are welcome here, but I don't think they are part of they weren't part of the proposal process.
No.
But the idea from the beginning was to involve the chief research environments in the Copenhagen area, and of course we have a geographical advantage of being able to bike here rather than take the train or the car. But the idea was to get everybody together.
Yeah. How would you describe the sort of moonshot, because you touched on the vision, but there's this sort of element of moonshots as well as the grand challenges, as I think Serge has called it a few times publicly.
Yeah.
How does that play into this? Because I don't see those words in academia very often, so it's quite nice to see it, refreshing to see it. And how do you sort of think about that from your perspective?
So as I said, the process sort of started by selecting the future potential leader of this research, and many of these ideas and concepts come from Serge, and this was his. He made a huge contributions to the writing process, and Moonshots and Grand Challenges was part of that, as well as responsible AI ethics by design, avoiding the mistakes of Facebook and others that were quite prominent at the time. And I think that's proof that this idea actually works, that getting a really outstanding international researcher into the loop actually makes it possible to get people here also to think differently and think more on a grander scale, more ambitiously. First of all, I hope it can be a melting pot, a meeting point for the universities in the region and in Denmark in these areas. We have 8 universities in this small country. It's a quarter the size of Shanghai in population, and we could be better at collaborating. And I think this already starts to work. That people get together here, and there are a couple of conferences that the Pioneer Center together with Direct and the Danish Data Science Academy are organizing together, and I think those will be important meeting points where we have had too few in the past. We're always busy with stuff at our own desk, but it's good to meet and do this nationally. Denmark is not big enough to have 8 completely disjoint universities.
But what do you hope the Pioneer Center will bring about in the long term? Like, I think you said currently for the people to connect better, and I think that it's already doing that. But what are the sort of bigger ambitions for the sort of future of 15 years' time, 20 years' time?
Right. Yeah. So getting together and meeting each other sort of is a means towards an end, and the end is to be better at educating people in Denmark. We're already really good, but we could certainly also improve, and also making some breakthrough research in some fields. It's the Pioneer Center spans over sort of 7 different subjects or collaboratories, and it's sort of unlikely that we'll be making big breakthroughs in all 7. But I think if just one thing makes it big, then that will be a success.
And because the audience might be wide, what does making it big mean?
That can mean many things. It could be publishing some paper that gets cited tens of thousands of times by other researchers because it has some fundamental scientific contribution. It could also be creating a company or creating the technology that some company is built on. But I think we have also, which is actually not part of the Pioneer Center's mission, but my own, in a sense, is also we should be much better at educating the Danish population at large in both AI and more broadly IT. We are really good at using IT in Denmark and using it for all sorts of purposes, but all the other subjects in law, sociology, politics and so on, journalism and so on, could become much more powerful and effective if people in general had a better understanding of technology. And that's something that's actually outside the Pioneer Center's remit, but I hope that as a side effect of educating people here, we'd also be able to contribute to that.
Yes, so I'm Mads Nielsen. I'm a professor at the University of Copenhagen in artificial intelligence, machine learning, coming from computer vision. And I've been here at University of Copenhagen since 2007. But in the full period, I've also been partly working with different startups and companies around too. So I've been in and out university a little. So I started out doing computer vision, robot vision, it was called to a large degree in these days, and came to see that that you really need applications of what you're doing in order to. So I was doing theoretical work, solving equations and so on, because the computers were not that powerful, and was intrigued by the applications in medicine. So later on, after my PhD, I started working with hospitals on their data collections, trying to see can we solve some of the issues, and that comes in many types of research actually in medicine. Some things we try to discover new things, that the medical doctors, they didn't know that A relates to B, and can we find some relations there, but also just in you can say more standard automation. We have existing processes in hospitals, we have too few doctors, can we help them work a little faster, or can we help that people that are a little less educated can do it at the same quality as because the healthcare sector is under pressure.
Yeah.
So that's
and it's actually kind of an oxymoron, right? Because people think that AI is going to replace doctors, but for now we actually really need AI.
Yeah. So if we, for example, take MR scanning, every year there are 10% more MR scanners images taken in the world, and there's 0.1% more radiologists to handle these images. So it means that we have to increase productivity with 10% year by year by year, not just 1 year,
Compounding, exactly.
but every year.
Yeah.
So if technology is not helping, and we have a world map where Europe, US have access to modern equipment, but the rest of the world is also becoming middle class and also want to have access to this. So we will see this expansion in the healthcare system worldwide, and we really need technology because we cannot educate people sufficiently fast to keep up with demand.
Switching gears a little bit to this great building we're in and the Pioneer Center. You and a few other people got together a few years ago and came up with this, great concept. Could you sort of talk a little bit about what was the sort of core of that vision before, and now that we're living in it for the next few years, how do you see it expanding from sort of your background, the grant writers, and now it's live?
So I think one of the major things is that Serge has this idea about that we should do moonshot research, and of course we all agree on that, but we're actually trying to make it a little more tangible. What does it mean? And in my in my discipline, working with medical AI, it is of course in the end saying that the computers can automate a lot of processes, doing things automatically, but also making it tangible by going through the necessary steps, because patients do not want to have a computer to talk to. They want to have a doctor to talk to. So there's a number of steps we have to go through where we can show that the technology can be used for certain things to help the doctors to become more efficient, to adapt it more to where we believe that the AI will help society first.
Yeah.
So that's one thing about it. Another thing about the vision here that is a little different than what we see in some of the solutions out there is the motto of the Pioneer Center, claiming that nothing about us without us. So that we.
Yeah, what does that mean? Could you dive into that a little bit?
Yeah. So that actually means that we are making solutions to people with people. So one of the examples is I'm working together with the Danish Medicine Agency on trying to discover side effects of drugs. So we know all this that when you take a pill, if you read the note inside there's a lot of side effects, but a lot of them are not there. They have not been discovered yet, and so on. So while doing this work with the Danish Medicine Agency and with the pharmacoepidemiologists, we have also involved patients in the work. So we have a focus group of patients that comes with recommendations to us, also stating how could the data we are collecting, if they are afraid of how it could be misused. They could also be afraid that we discover side effects of medicine they are happy for and they couldn't get the medicine any longer. So pointing at the ethical dilemmas that may be in the research we are doing. And actually also when we have generated hypotheses, then we have to test them out in real world. Is this a real side effect or is it just something spurious in the data?
Yeah.
And there the patients are helping us sorting which things should we go and test in real life, because it's about them. It's not computer scientists behind a desk that should figure out which things should we test. It's real patients with real pain that should be involved in that.
And in terms of the sort of future for the next, say, 6.5 years, half of the time
Yes.
that you have officially, what do you hope will be some of the outcomes, and what do you hope will be some of the learnings of the next 6.5 years? Or 5 years?
Yes, yeah. So if I'm talking more narrowly also about my own field, the applications in medicine, because there are so many other problems about how AI is adopted in society currently. But if we focus on the medical aspect, there I really hope to see this, that right now the technical solutions are getting out there, but they're not really being used. So we are still in this a little throw of disillusionment that the technology have been promising so much, but they're not really being used. And I do believe also that it's a part also about this nothing about us without us, because the technology is not really made in order to help the medical doctors. They're not really made in order to help the patients. They have just been thought of by saying, I think we can solve this problem. So what I really hope is that we can get out there together with the people that are going to use the technology and develop the technology that will really be used and can really help patients and doctors.
As I mentioned before, this came about with this first idea of Nobel centers back in 2017, and then refined into pioneer centers in 2019. And there was made a call for proposals for such centers. And I think the three universities, the Technical University, Copenhagen University, and the IT University of Copenhagen, quickly actually joined forces around nominating Serge Belongi as a head of one of these pioneer centers, and the focus of this center should be AI.
Yeah, and it was actually also so that all three universities knew Serge already. Mm-hmm. So I actually know him from when he was a PhD student at Berkeley. I visited Berkeley there and came by him. We were in the same field, and he was affiliated to the DTU also at this point as a joint professor. So we were all keen on trying to get Serge interested in actually coming by and help starting such a center in Denmark. Yeah, and I think we had a lot of late evening meetings. We were all busy, but luckily Serge was available during his daytime, so it wasn't too late for us to have the meeting, trying to sketch out the idea of how should it look like for us to be attractive for us, and especially also how could it be? How could we make a solution that was attractive for search to come to Copenhagen?
So then out of the 18 proposals made nationwide for nominations for Pioneer Center heads, the only one that went further was our proposal for search. And this was accepted in the spring of 2020. And then we were asked to write a more substantial application, which led to further meetings, of course, online.
Yeah, and a lot of discussions about what is a Pioneer Center for AI actually, because now we had to substantiate all the more fluffy ideas we had in the first round, trying to put some meat on the bone. And that was a process also happening most virtually, but also with a visit by Serge coming to Copenhagen, so we could actually discuss face-to-face and dig a little deeper.
Yeah, so nobody knew what a Pioneer Center really was at the time. This was the first proposal. Now there are 3 Pioneer Centers within the same framework. But what we had to sort of figure out what did the foundations want and what did we want for a Pioneer Center. I think everybody contributed a lot, but Serge, of course, especially with the ideas of moonshots and similar concepts.
Yeah, 7-step plans for how to get to the moonshots was developed by Serge in this period. Yeah. It goes into so many disciplines in the world and so on. So we had to try to structure this in a different way than what we normally do when we write grant applications.
Absolutely. I recall the foundations are struggling to understand what we actually wanted and asking what is the central idea, and we had to basically rewrite the introduction to explain that the idea of modern AI is to learn procedures from examples and large data sets, and this is sort of actually the core idea, and then it has a lot of implications, as we can see with modern language technology, for instance.
It wasn't so tangible for the foundations all the way through, that it was not hypothesis driven, but it was hypothesis generating instead. Mm-hmm. So a totally different type of research than what is normally carried out in natural sciences and medicine. So it's a standard research application is that you have a central research question saying, can we show, having a hypothesis that something relates to something else, that we can, in this way we can build a quantum computer, or in this way we can say something about the expansion of the universe. But we have this underlying hypothesis about how to do things. And in AI, we just have the underlying hypothesis that if we have sufficiently much data and compute power, then we can find the patterns that are behind it, but we actually don't know what we are looking for. We'll see it when we find it.
But I think we established a great amount of common ground with the 5 foundations there. Mads gave a presentation, and then we continued detailing the application after that.
Yeah, and in this process also, luckily, the consortium was enlarged. We were the 3 nominating universities, but also Aalborg and Aarhus University came on board and supported this application in this process, which not necessarily made it simpler. I think it made it better, but not simpler, to suddenly being 5 universities and 5 foundations that have to try to reach some kind of consensus of what is the best way to do this. Now we are, I'm very happy that we are in this beautiful old building, for better and for worse, because we have it's very inspiring environment to be in now, but it also has the structures that old buildings have and so on, so we have to live with that.
Yes, the building is the old observatory that belongs to University of Copenhagen, built 1861 with an old telescope and so on. So it's super charming, but somewhat impractical. But nevertheless, I think it's the right location for the Pioneer Center. It's not next to one of the 3 computer science departments in the Copenhagen area, but sort of neutral ground, and it's actually in the middle. You can argue between IT University, University of Copenhagen, and the Technical University, and super conveniently located to public transport and so on. So yeah, I think it's the right location for the center, and super charming environment here with the botanical gardens and so on around it.
Yeah, and also here it is a little different from many research centers, because the plurality of ideas that is behind this, it's more about getting people to meet, and the right people to meet about the right problems. It's not about making the lab that can do one experiment so we can find the Higgs boson or whatever.
But as a meeting place, it does work. This morning, coming in for the interview here, I met Jens, one of my old students from the IT University. He is now a PhD student in Stockholm at KTH. And he, when he's in Copenhagen, he has a desk here. So it is actually a meeting place, has been proven.
Yeah. And we managed to make the building so that approximately half of the desks here are not occupied on a daily basis, but just by people coming by. So the house is often close to full, so it can be hard to find a desk, but many people are coming, and especially also from our fellows in Jutland, from Aarhus, Aalborg, and from now also Southern Danish University and so on. People are coming in, trying to have a meeting place in central Copenhagen around these things about artificial intelligence. Seminar series are going on here and so on, so we can try to have the scientific meetings happen. And we just see here in the room we are sitting that there are equations on the whiteboard here with it.
Right.
So that's what's normally happened in the room here.